Precious Mzea Sakaleji, welcome to Camnet TV Main News. The headlines. 2 LUSAKA men accused of abducting PAMELA CHISUPA and others appear in court. People backing Vedanta to regain control over KCM being sponsored, charges Calabar. Agriculture Union cautions extension officers from engaging in dubious activities. In international news, children march in support of peace deal in Tigray. And in sports, Zambia thrashes Botswana by 5-0 in the girls under-17 COSAFA championship. Join me with the details after this commercial.
In our quest to serve nations and develop Africa, Savenda is investing in the agriculture sector so as to produce supply for both local and international markets, housing over 12,000 pullets that are nurtured and fed with our locally made stock feed that comes from our own locally grown maize and soya beans, all processed from our recently installed milling and mixing plant. Our over 95,000 layers have an output capacity of over 1,500 trays of fresh eggs per day that are carefully selected and packaged for all the leading stores and supermarkets nationwide. Our greenhouses are fitted with the latest irrigation system, and the seedlings are nurtured to ensure only healthy plants reach the fields. With our deliberate planting schedule, we are better placed to supply constantly without interruption, thus reliable. Savenda Farms is also changing lives of its dedicated workforce drawn from the local community and beyond. So the next time you think fresh and green, think Savenda Farms.
And now the main news in detail. 2 LUSAKA men accused of abducting 13 girls earlier this year have appeared before the LUSAKA Magistrate Court. James Mulenga and Matthew Sikaonga have been slapped with 53 counts, among them human trafficking, rape, assault and aggravated robbery. The accused are alleged to have kidnapped PAMELA CHISUPA, aged 22, and 12 other girls appeared before LUSAKA Magistrate Trevor Kasanda Thursday for explanation of charge, awaiting consent to refer their case to the High Court.
James Mulenga, the man accused of kidnapping 13 young women earlier this year and repeatedly raped and assaulted them in his apartment over multiple days and subjected his victims to over 6 months hell before they were rescued by the police in October 2022, has appeared before the LUSAKA's Magistrate Court Thursday with his co-accused Matthew Sikaonga. The 2 accused persons, aged only 22 years old, made their appearance before Magistrate Trevor Kasanda where charges of the alleged offense they are said to have committed were read to them. The state have slapped Mulenga and Sikaonga with 53 charges, among them assault, rape, aggravated robbery and human trafficking. According to court records, the accused are alleged to have stolen various items from their victim, such as phones, money. Among one of the victims, in about mid-April this year, PAMELA CHISUPA, aged 22, who was working at a mobile money booth in LUSAKA's Central Business District, went missing while at work, in a case that left many people with every feeling: fear, shock, pain, worry. Since then, the public remained alarmed, especially that there were other reports with faint details indicating that other young people were being targeted for adoption. The police had instituted investigations into the adoption of PAMELA, but May, June, July, August and September came and went without any intelligent investigative response in sight. But on the afternoon of the 3rd of October 2022, upon being alerted by members of the public, the police managed to allocate the 13 missing victims. They had been kept at one of the houses in LUSAKA's Chalala area. Magistrate Kasanda has adjourned the case to the 12th of December 2022 for possible committal to the LUSAKA High Court for their trial proceedings. The 2 accused persons remain in custody. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
A 50-year-old man of LUSAKA's Kanyama compound, whose daughter was allegedly abused by the 70-year-old uncle, says he lives in fear as the suspect is threatening his life and that of the victim because they reported him to the police. In an interview with Camnet TV, the distressed father wonders why his own uncle would commit such a heathen act on his daughter, more worse infect her with AIDS. He has, however, expressed gratitude to well-wishers who have come on board to assist the family. In October 2022, Camnet TV aired the said heinous case on child sexual abuse where the said victim, now 22 years old, who was allegedly abused by her paternal grandfather on several occasions, starting at the age of 15 years, broke the silence and reported her grandfather to Kanyama police station for incest. However, after reporting the matter, the victim became stranded with a place to live after her family chased her from home for breaking the silence.
At 9, this little girl of Lusaka's Kanyama compound has remained traumatized with what she witnessed. Her paternal grandfather and her elder sister in bed.
Daddy, mosa jana weva washukuru. Na pesa nishi wadi na wabet. Wena washukuru. Na mboku nikali pira. Kuntukana. Ata nje no kamba chati. Ati kosa chitacha ni kosa mkatipira mwana. Azira vakamba.
Early October 2022, Camnet TV aired the story of Martha, not a real name, of how at the age of 15 years old, her 70-year-old paternal grandfather, identified as John Ilunga, allegedly started to sexually abuse her. However, at the age of 22, she broke the silence and reported the matter to Kanyama police station. But after reporting the matter, Martha became stranded with a place to live after her family chased her from home.
Because matenda sana tengere kuri ine matenda sana badwe nayo. So siza kwatengera matenda ya. So sininga musunge ndani nuokufa ero aola kudala. Ni chitumbi chebatireta so singasunge chitumbi pa nyumba panga pana. Asakire koenda. Oga banikana chebonse nangara stranded nzaenda kuti. Kulibe kuningaenda.
And now, in the latest update over this case, her 50-year-old father, who was now spoken to Camnet TV, says he fears his life of being in danger because his uncle, the alleged suspect, has threatened to kill or plant drugs in his house if he decides to pursue the case any further. He has also told this reporter that he is not capable of keeping his own daughter. The 50-year-old distressed father has also expressed gratitude to well-wishers who have come on board to assist the family.
Bawachosa manje amba kuniuza ati aenda mkuza abantu ati ndizasakira chamba so nikamufakire kunyumba bamumanje olonga siso nimutumira abantu bamupaye eve na mwana wake nikutumira basista banga ba phone ati gasona bwere iwe uzapeza iwiki mfana wako nimupaya ero mwana wake sister bwere amvera ati sister afika pa Tuesday last week Tuesday pa Wednesday ve kwamba kumusakira atuma phone ati ni kulibe sininga bwerene bananichosa ku police ngamufuna mwendeke ku police kwa mimi kuja olukoti nje kwa mimi tingaenda mkona bakusha embekeza yevi oluvingade bwanje yevi bamukwira che ku anti drug nizapanga che nzeru zanga zonse bakutema mama ni rufyengo lula chifuko lo imwe abaso mungakambe che mwamvera ati obagwira muntu na chamba muzavomera bati rufyengo banifyenga.
The aunt to the victim has also expressed concern over the issue.
Chitika kunuku Zambia muntu ngaba mungisha mu mazeuso sibale pusha bene bali mungisha mu mazeuso ati mulela anda koshana nombe fo tatuishile badadi ba mwana tabishile nomba batamba mufumisha nomba inonshiko tule mufaya alela anda tende kunyina miba tetingise ndi ku nani ku nani kumpanga kumpanga nomba tukamumona shani nomba apa pene tukamumona sani tukachita shani pantu ngato chimumona apena ngini na isa twachile faya kutulande kuna imbi milando ya kuchati tukachita shani na uri mwana.
Sexual abuse impacts the developmental years of a child, where they are supposed to feel and experience safety and protection. Experiencing abuse can damage the child's perception of family, of their bodies, and of safety in the world. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
As Zambia observes the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, some women have shared that they opted to file for divorce in order to free themselves from abusive marriages. This came to light during the community conversation in Bauleni compound on gender-based violence organized by the non-governmental Gender Organization Coordinating Council NGOCC. The women came to terms after prolonged endurance in violent relationships, stressing that lack of financial independence compelled to tolerate abusive husbands, but that not anymore. Meanwhile, NGOCC Executive Director Anna Anamela underscored the need to enhance preventive measures on gender-based violence.
Zambia is observing the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, which is an annual international campaign that kicks off on the 25th of November, the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, and runs until 10th December, Human Rights Day. The commemoration is used as an organizing strategy by individuals and organizations around the world to call for the prevention and elimination of violence against women and girls. Thursday, 1st December 2022, the Non-Governmental Gender Organization Coordinating Council, NGOCC, organized a community conversation in Bauleni compound on gender-based violence. Testimonies from GBV survivors were shared on how women had to endure abusive marriages to a point of near death until they opted out with the support from non-state actors who provide rehabilitation services and shelter.
My friends, and then you can complain about whatever you pass through. These people, this organization can help you. And then I went to YWCA, and then they are the ones who are helping me in terms of counseling together with the children, in terms of what I've been passing through. That's the reason why at the moment now I've just decided to divorce.
And then so when I came here to LUSAKA, that's how coming up on the YWCA. For me, I've been receiving counseling and help, and then what is na tunaenda kwa kuliko kwetu take up a protection order na maintenance na occupation order. So I can definitely but also
during the same meeting, authentic tales of reformed perpetrators were shared.
So now Zambia national some problems as I'm speaking now,
the 16 days of gender activism is being held under the theme Unite Activism to End Violence Against Women and Girls. We spoke to NGOCC Executive Director Annie Anamela, who pointed out the need to continue enhancing awareness creation on GBV and improve on the implementation of laws to curb the vice.
There's the stiffer punishment, but the stiffer punishment happens after the fact. So what we'd like to do is actually prevent GBV cases. And one of the things that we have noticed from on the lessons that we have learned, and even from research and literature out there, is that these issues to do with GBV and gender inequity and equality generally are about attitudes. They're about beliefs. They're about cultural norms. So what we would like to do, and one thing which NGOCC and its members are concentrating on, is looking at changing these. But it requires a certain type of programming, and that's what we're going on, going into now, especially as we go into the new year. It's actually changing norms, beliefs, traditional customs, and practices that perpetuate these vices.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Citizens First Party President Harry Kalaba has alleged that the United Party for National Development Administration has no clear plan for Konkola copper mine on the copper belt. Mr. Kalaba says the UPND, while in opposition, assured the Zambian people that they had found investors willing to take over KCM and has wondered where the investors have disappeared to. For the clergy to be calling on Vedanta resource to govern back the mine. The Citizens First leader says many years the UPND spent in opposition have never prepared them to run the mines and has since advised the government to come up with a robust plan for the mining sector. Meanwhile, Patriotic Front Deputy Media Director Edwin Lifwekelo says what the UPND needs to do is look for new investors in KCM as opposed to giving it back to the people who collapsed the mine.
The call by the clergy on the copper belt to have Konkola copper mines be given back to Vendata Resources Limited has shocked First Party President Harry Kalaba, who feels the interest of the people of Zambia is not being well represented.
So this is why we are saying, they are the only ones, Vendata, that has shown interest to say they are willing and ready to come back, based on the new policies that they will be given.
Mr. Kalaba has reminded the United Party for National Development UPND administration that while in opposition, they lied to the Zambian people that they had plans for KCM and that they had found an investor who was willing to invest back into the mine when in fact not.
The UPND, when they were in opposition, they had clearly said that they already had a plan for KCM and that they had a more substantive investor apart from Vendata. Where is that investor they were telling us before the elections? We all thought it was an issue they were going to deal with immediately they came. What we have seen has been back and forth. Clearly, there's been no plans on KCM, and now they want to go back to Vendata, being sponsored by the people that should be speaking for the people in the mines.
The party president has since advised the government to come up with a robust plan for the mining sector and not dwell on the past by giving the mine back to investors who failed to live up to their promise.
What has changed? All of a sudden, because they're talking outside court, the government has found it prudent to begin now looking at Vendata when they had told us that they had an investor. This is not good for the community in Chingola. This is not good for the country, for our country Zambia, and it should never be tolerated. I think government must come up with a robust plan for our mining sector. Clearly, the years that they spent in opposition have never helped them or prepared them to run our mines.
Meanwhile, Patriotic Front Deputy Media Director Edwin Lifwekelo says the country does not need investors who failed to honor their contract and says what KCM needs are new investors.
They had removed and put a liquidator there. Is working round the clock to ensure that they raise voices, divisive voices, that will give momentum to their objective of ensuring that it's them that must come back to run KCM. Why is it that Vendata all of a sudden has had the capacity, and why all of a sudden Vendata becomes an institution which is a darling to the unions, which only yesterday unions were saying Vendata must not come back and should not be allowed.
Now, the country awaits to hear from the authority over what decision it will be taking concerning the giant copper mine on the copper belt. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Former Health Minister Levison Mumba has observed that most policies in the United Party for National Development administration are conflicting each other. Recently, Energy Minister Peter Kapala said ZESCO will revise power connection fees for domestic and commercial customers effective January 1st, 2023. But Mr. Mumba notes that the move undermines the government's desire to combat deforestation as dependence for charcoal production will increase. He has since advised the UPND against going the path of increasing the cost in the energy sector.
Is to reduce all the amount of deforestation. How does this new policy affect the aim of reducing deforestation? Because it is going to cut off the majority of the people who will not be able to afford these new tariffs. And so we shall resort to cutting trees and so forth. For me, there is a disconnect. I think that we have difficulties to appreciate the direction government is going.
In other news, The National Restoration Party, NAREP, believes that United Party for National Development Administration is on the right trajectory, placing the country on the path to economic recovery and national development. Deputy Secretary General Martin Mulenga notes that the Constituency Development Fund CDF, despite some few challenges, is key towards facilitating development in various communities. He is confident that next year the implementation of CDF is poised to improve, saying 2022 has been a learning phase. Mr. Mulenga claims that the social and economic problems being faced by citizens are symptoms of the ongoing cleanup of the perceived mess that was left by the Patriotic Front government, such as the high debt burden.
We want to see a situation where now the small entrepreneurs, just like they are getting money through the CEC, but we want to see more getting money through the CDF. Because you know the starting of something is not an easy thing. We want to see in 2023 more and more people, youths, getting involved in getting money from the CDF to engage in local kind of programs that can create employment for our people. And we also look forward to seeing that now that we have more teachers, we want to see a situation where our local people go into building houses near the school so that more of our teachers that have gotten employed can start probably renting those houses. We want this government to give some incentive to those people that will engage into building houses to places where these schools are, as an incentive to these people, to give them an opportunity to create more houses for our newly employed teachers. So it is with the nurses. We want a situation, more and more houses being built in this coming year to accommodate our hard-working civil servants. But so far, we must mention that the UPND has created a very nice base from which many good things are going to happen in this country.
The Agriculture, Technical and Professional Staff Union of Zambia has warned agriculture extension officers in the country not to entangle themselves in the Farmer Input Support Program FISP distributions. Union President Oliver Chingowe says the role of the Agriculture Extension Officer is to monitor how the inputs are being distributed and not directly engage in the distribution of fertilizer. Mr. Chingowe, who addressed newly elected LUSAKA Province Union Committee, says the union will not protect anyone who will be found stealing fertilizer meant to support poor farmers. Meanwhile, Labour consultant Delax Mwansa has urged the newly elected provincial committee to ensure that they serve the interest of their members above self.
The Agriculture, Technical and Professional Staff Union of Zambia has held its general elections to elect leaders in Lusaka province who will now begin to bargain on behalf of other union members in the province. The elections that were also monitored by officials from the Ministry of Labour and Social Securities saw 9 candidates emerge victorious after some positions went unopposed, while that of the chairperson and trustees were contested. And Union President Oliver Chingowe, who addressed the newly elected members and other union members, has since warned agriculture extension officers across the country not to entangle themselves in the Farmer Input Support Program FISP distributions.
When you go there, I don't want to hear anything in Lusaka province of any officer, the camp officer, getting involved in distributing the input, farmer input support, those input that farmers get. You are not supposed to be there. You are in the forefront sharing with the farmers. You get these bags, you get this. The role is to monitor. The farmers, the beneficiaries are selected. The role is to monitor. And so that you make sure that the production and productivity is enhanced. No one will be protected by the union if we hear that we have gone outside the line. As the executive committee elected today, let's work together, not just by the union, but by the government.
Meanwhile, Labour consultant Delax Mwansa has urged the newly elected provincial committee to ensure that they serve the interest of their members above self.
So we should not lose sight of that important objective, because you are already professionals, and your voice must have a lot of meaning whenever you speak. That you also need to understand the documents that needs to guide you. This includes the Constitution itself, the Industrial Labor Relations Act, the Employment Code Act, and of course the Republican Constitution. You must understand what's going on in the country. You must listen to the news, current affairs.
And the newly elected chairperson, Agri Kapulula, has pledged his commitment to serving the interests of agriculture extension officers in the Lusaka district to better their lives and that of their families.
For the confidence that you've shown in us, it means that we should really work for you. And this is what we are going to do. When I fail as a chairperson, it means all the executive members that have been ushered in today have failed. So I really look forward to work with you, those that have been ushered in office together with me. And
the role that unions play in negotiating for better workers' rights, including better pay, safer working conditions, and better benefits, cannot be overemphasized, hence the need for employees to belong to a union. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Ministry of Agriculture will soon distribute 390 motorcycles to all districts in the country to enhance extension service delivery. Director of Agriculture, Dr. Chizumba Shepande, also said 14,000 tablets will be distributed across the districts in the country to agricultural officers to ease communication. Dr. Shepande noted that the motorcycles and tablets were used by ZAMSTATs during the just-ended 2022 census. He said the 390 motorcycles donated to his ministry after the 2022 census will address challenges of mobility among the foot soldiers in the ministry, comprising extension camp officers. And Southern Province Agricultural Coordinator Dr. Max Chombe expressed happiness with the assurance of transport and tablets, noting that the service delivery will be improved in the ministry. The duo was speaking at Lusumpuko House during the launch of traps used to fight 4 army worms to be distributed across the province.
The issue of motorbikes, which is a very big problem that we face among our agriculture extension officers in terms of mobility. We have also secured from the same ZAMSTAT the motorbikes that were being used during the census. So they have donated to us 390 motorbikes, which will be distributed again across the districts. 14,000 tablets that were being used by ZAMSTAT for census, they will be donated to the Ministry of Agriculture, and these will be distributed across all the districts, and then the provinces will distribute these gadgets to all the agriculture extension camps.
We are grateful from the pronouncement by the director that the ministry will be distributing motorbikes and the tablets to the province. This is the way to go in terms of revamping our agriculture sector. It will improve our extension efficiency. It will also help the camp officers with mobility. You know that camp officers have vast areas that they cover, so we're really grateful that they are going to give us these motorbikes.
You're watching Camnet TV Main News. We take our first set of commercials. We'll be back with more after this.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes, and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
Christian Community Church Fundraising Dinner and Church Service. Hosts Pastor Field and Rita Ngalande. Guest speakers Pastors Victoria and Moses Chiluba. Date 3rd and 4th December 2022. Venue Sally Riverside Resort in Mansa. Time dinner 19 hours to 22 hours. Church service 0930 to 12 hours. Contact us on 0978 042508. Take note, both events will take place at the same place.
Good news, good news. The rains have started. You need to plan your future. Generational wealth is the way to go. Has grafted avocado plants fruiting within 2 to 3 years for sale at only 90 kwacha each, and ordinary avocados at only 45 kwacha each. Contact us on 0979 753010 or 0962 965 883. We are open from 8 hours to 17 hours, Monday to Friday, at Healing Word Ministries International in Ibex Hill, opposite Hilltop Hospital.
Thank you for staying with us. We continue with the rest of the main news. President Hakainde Hichilema says government is worried about the latest Zambia populated-based HIV impact assessment results, which have revealed that adolescents and young people have continued to have far too many new HIV infections. President Hichilema says the country must continue to reach the vulnerable populations with innovation HIV testing and treatment strategies. The head of state says Zambia must pay more attention to adolescent girls and young women as they continue to be not only at a higher risk of HIV infection but suffer consequences of its impact more than the general population. This is contained in a speech read on his behalf by the Minister of Education, Douglas Siakalima, in Lusaka Thursday during the commemoration of World AIDS Day held under the theme Equalize, Closing the Gap. Speaking earlier, Minister of Health Sylvia Masebo said she is optimistic that Zambia can end HIV and AIDS completely. Ms. Masebo said the government is aiming at fighting stigmatization and inequality by providing treatment to the infected individuals. And United Nations Resident Coordinator Beatrice Muntali said HIV is no longer a death sentence as antiretroviral treatment allows persons living with HIV to live healthy and long lives. She said the United Nations will continue to provide support in the fight of HIV as it is its responsibility to protect the human rights of every person. The National Association of Saving and Credit Cooperative Union says the mushrooming number of money grouping schemes such as Savings Group, Village Banks, Chilimba and others may have been as a result of lack of strong financial cooperative movement to provide financial services as required by the general populace. Speaking at the National Cooperative Conference held in Lusaka Thursday, Union Chairperson Brigadier General Kelvin Silomba has challenged cooperatives to take advantage of the gap and fill it up in order to reduce on the many risks that these groups have been exposed to. General Silomba says this can be done by formalizing the informal groups into formal financial cooperatives in order to enable them expand in their operations. Meanwhile, Small and Medium Enterprise Minister Elias Mubanga says if cooperatives are still harnessed and supported by appropriate training, the sector can contribute eminently to the national gross domestic product, GDP.
You may agree with me that there are several informal money grouping schemes, such as saving groups, village banks, Chilimba and others that have mushroomed in the recent past. This may have been attributed to lack of a strong financial cooperative movement that would provide financial services as required by the general populace. The challenge, therefore, to all is for us to take advantage of this and fill in the gap in order to reduce on the many risks that these groups have been exposed to by formalizing them into formal financial cooperatives so that they may also expand on their operations.
To be doing very well the movement, cooperative movement, some time back in this country. And the bigger economies, you go to the UK, all those shops you see, the companies you see, those are cooperatives. So bigger economies like the United Kingdom, the cooperatives have done a lot to build their economy.
The Christian Churches Monitoring Group, CCMG, is calling for enhanced transparency, independence and inclusivity in the appointment of commissioners, as well as the urgent constitutional reforms to decrease the role of the president in the appointment process. In a statement, CCZ Steering Committee Chairperson Bishop Andrew Mwenda says there is need for an appointment process which allows for, among other things, a public call for applications for any vacant commissioner roles with clear outlined qualifications and selection criteria. Bishop Mwenda also has cited Namibia and South Africa as yardsticks for which Zambia can learn on how to appoint commissioners, especially those at the Electoral Commission of Zambia.
View that subjecting commissioners to a transparent recruitment process will not only enhance public confidence in the Electoral Commission of Zambia, but also immediately address any concerns from the public on the standing of appointed commissioners, such as those expressed with the recent appointment of Electoral Commission of Zambia commissioners. In Namibia, for instance, the commission consists of 5 commissioners appointed by the state president from a list of 8 names submitted by a selection committee is set up to select, interview, and recommend 8 persons for approval by the National Assembly, and the interviews with the section committee are broadcast on radio or TV. It is from this approved list of 8 persons that the president must appoint the 5 commissioners. South Africa has a similar practice whereby commissioners are appointed from a list of not less than 8 names submitted by a panel of experts.
International and sports news coming through right after this commercial.
You know I can take her a bit.
Yes, my dear.
I was thinking of getting you a Bugatti on your birthday.
Really?
I'm quiet. My name is Yana.
Don't worry, my dear. That's why there is insurance.
Insurance?
You heard me.
Not just any kind of insurance, but Savenda General Insurance, a company that offers superior customer service, highly professional and dedicated staff. We are not just any insurance company, but an insurance company that actually pays our claims. We cover, among others, fire, marine, aviation, engineering, agriculture, motor vehicle, and miscellaneous insurance. So, live life to the full, knowing that Savenda General Insurance has got you covered. Savenda General Insurance. Insurance excellence.
Welcome back. We now get into our international news. Wearing dreadlocks, listening to reggae music or having a Rasta-like lifestyle is an act of defiance in Sudan. The killings of several Sudanese Rastafarians in the mass anti-coup demonstrations since Burhan's takeover last year have given rise to a popular protest slogan, "The Rasta Never Dies." Here is more in international news.
Young people from Tigray's regional capital Mekele have taken part in a peace march, with many hoping that the ceasefire agreed between Ethiopia's government and the rebels may mean they can soon return to school. Schools and many other services have been closed for over 2 years since fighting broke out in 2020. The Peace for All Carnival was organized by a local charity. What makes me so happy is that if there is peace, I'll get back to school again. All the displaced persons will return to their homes. The sick will get medications. There will be no more starvation and death. Despite the peace agreement, there are uncertainties about its implementation. Ethiopia's government says aid supplies are getting into the region, but some in Tigray say it is not enough.
No nation in the entire globe understands the cost of war and the value of peace than the people of Tigray this time. So when the peace deal means for Tigray, siege and blockade will be lifted and Tigray will be part of the world again. And this peace deal for Tigray and for me means patients will get medicine and no more suffering and days of hunger. Our children will go to school, and it has got many more advantages.
Among the 600 participants who marched through the town, led by a police orchestra, were about 200 children performing soccer skills and martial arts.
The weekly protests against the October 2021 coup usually gather thousands in Sudan. Among the demonstrators, some stand out with their flags, placards or hairstyle. Members of the Rastafarian community proudly wear dreadlocks. In the majority Muslim nation, unlike in Jamaica where most Rastafarians are found, wearing dread doesn't have religious overtones. It's a way of protesting the October 2021 military coup. We as youth refuse all our government's violations. After all, we don't consider it a government that represents us, the youth or the people. We will keep the Rasta until the regime falls. After it falls, I might shave my head or keep my Rasta-like lifestyle. We do not consider it a religion, but rather a way of expressing opposition. The number of Rastafarians in Sudan is unknown. Environments like this art exhibition in Khartoum celebrate reggae culture. However, the community largely lives underground. Men and women Rastafarians would face persecution under public order laws during Omar Bashir's tenure. During anti-Bashir protests, I knew that if I got arrested, security forces would shave my head. It was my motivation to keep running from them. It was very bad, and I feel this behavior from the authorities is back. The prevalent stereotype links dreadlocks with drug use and unbecoming behavior. So there are some restrictions on Rasta-like lifestyle. For many people here, it is more acceptable to have an improper hairstyle than having my hair in dreadlocks. The killings of several Sudanese Rastafarians in mass anti-coup demonstrations since General al-Burhan's takeover have given rise to a popular protest slogan, "The Rasta never dies." For now, wearing dreadlocks, listening to reggae music or having a Rasta-like lifestyle remains an act of defiance in Sudan.
Oh yes I know, yes I know, yes I know now. God provide and pray. Everybody, is this love, is this love?
East Africa's Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, has signed an agreement on the free movement of people as representatives from the 8 African countries gathered in the Sudanese capital, Khartoum. 7 countries signed the protocol according to IGAD Secretary Dr. Wokne Gebeyehu.
We started this process before 2 years here in Khartoum. Today, all the ministers, except Uganda, because the minister is not here, all of them have signed the Free Movement Protocol and Transhuman Protocol. This is also a very big achievement for the region.
The feat also comes after several years of negotiations, meetings and discussions. IGAD representatives also discussed the response to some of the crises facing the region.
القضايا التي طرحت كلها تهم دول الإيجاد، الجفاف والتصحر وكيفية خلق آليات جديدة لمواجهة هذه التطورات بما فيها المجاعة والنزوح والجفاف، وأيضا ما تحقق من تقدم كبير في مجال الأمن والاستقرار في الإقليم.
East Africa's IGAD meeting was attended by representatives from Djibouti, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia, South Sudan, and Sudan. The three-day summit concludes Friday, December 2.
We now get into sports news. The Under-17 Zambia national girls teams started the COSAFA tournament on positive note with a 5-0 win against Botswana. The tournament is hosted by Malawi. The 2022 Region V Games is being used as a qualifier for the 2023 Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations to be hosted by Algeria. Top 2 teams will qualify to the continental showbiz. For the women competition, Zambia is in Group B with Botswana and Comoros, while Group A has Malawi, South Africa and Namibia.
Busatile for Zambia. Another chance now! And Zambia have taken the lead! What a goal! Botswana nil, managing to break the defense after 20 minutes. Zambia go on the attack again. Chance again for Chileche! Oh, they've taken a lead and increased the lead. They score this time. Zango to sit deep and catch Zambia on a counter-attack, but it's not happening. Another chance, and it's a goal for Zambia! Out of nothing, Zambia scoring a third goal. Zambia go again with Kajia. Make a close chance, and it's a goal! Fantastic goal! Put away! Zambia 4 and Botswana nil. Zulu collects and a goal! Fantastic goal! Put away! Zulu with a long ranger.
Well, that sports item brings us to the end of Camnet TV main news, but before we go, here are the headlines once again. 2 Lusaka men accused of abducting Pamela CHISUPA and others appear in court. People backing Vedanta to regain control over KCM being sponsored charges Calabar. Agriculture Union cautions extension officers from engaging in dubious activities. In international news, children march in support of peace deal in Tigray. And in sports, Zambia thrashes Botswana by 5-0 in the girls Under-17 COSAFA Championship. Before we go, our Camnet verse of the day is coming from the book of John 1, verse 1 to 2 and 14. It reads, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God. In the beginning the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth." Thank you for watching. I am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. Pleasant viewing.